So based on the components of speech which I showed you just now, we end up with 5 different components of artful speech. And what I'll do is talk about speech which people commonly use, but which sometimes doesn't add up to all 5 of these stars. The first is that what we say should have a compassionate intention behind it. So the fact that we want to say something to somebody at all should be on the basis of our compassion for that person. Often, if we were to have any guidance on the things we said at all in the Western world, you find that people will try to say things which the other person wants to hear. But we see that here the intention is different. It may not be something which the person wants to hear, but it may be something which, out of our compassion for that person, we see as being something which they need to know. So it's not just to make someone feel good, but it should be for their greater good. The sort of speech which is diametrically opposed to speech on the basis of compassionate intention is when you say things out of anger. Especially if you are beside yourself with anger, and anything which comes in your mind which you are likely to say to anyone when you're that angry is likely not to be worth hearing, because it's not something which you have really given your full consideration. Normally it's the anger speaking, it's not you speaking anymore. And this is why, if you do find that you are seriously angry, it's better to keep your mouth shut. It's better not to write any notes, hate letters to anybody, not even email. So it should be on the basis of compassion, the things that we say. Second thing which we get from the 4th precept is that what we say should be true. It may sound simple enough to say things which are just things which are true, but there are categories of speech, such as telling white lies, for example, which are often considered appropriate. For example, if someone is seriously ill in hospital and we tell them, oh, you'll be getting better soon, don't worry about it. Actually, we'll be better off and more skillful in our speech if we could find a way to tell the truth to that person, so that they would have the time to prepare themselves in the appropriate way, especially if their death is certain. If a child falls over in the street and cuts themselves and you have to console them, you'd be better to console them with things which are truth, not to say, oh, you're a brave little boy and you're the best little boy in the world. Flatter them so that they forget about the pain. In fact, from anyone else's mouth that may be okay, but if we are trying to practice to become someone whose speech is something which people want to stop and listen to, because we talk only about things which are serious matters, then we should try to find something more artful or skillful to say in such a situation. There's plenty of choices of different things which one can say, so why tell white lies? The third factor is that what we say should be polite at all times. As I said, you can say the same thing in many different ways. You can tell someone to try not to be so lazy, or you can tell them to get off their backside. the effect may be the same, but the feeling is different for the person who hears it. If you notice the way our abbot teaches, sometimes he says very simple things. Sometimes he talks about very mundane subjects, but because he dresses up those subjects by playing with language, even the most boring of chores can become interesting to the person who listens to it. And this is what is a component of artful speech. To know how to use your speech to bring back the appetite to someone who's ill, or to give encouragement to a person who's tired and can't walk any further. It comes down to the way you use words. So if you can study language and use language in a way which is skillful and where people are attracted to hear what you want to say, then that is something which is to your credit. It's a blessing. The fourth factor is that what you say ought to be of benefit. You might think that telling the truth and creating benefit might be the same thing. But in fact, there are many things which are truthful but which people already know. And the idea of this factor is that beneficial speech is speech where you are giving people new information which they don't already know, where you are saving up new things to tell people. Supposing there's a gangster in a certain town and everyone knows that that person is a gangster in the town, but no one can do anything about it. To complain, oh, that person is a gangster, when everyone knows it already, it's superfluous. Because everyone knows it anyway, so why add to their discomfort about this fact? If you had something new in the way of information about that person, it would be useful to say something. It would be beneficial to say something. But if you are merely saying it for saying it, then it shows that you don't have an appreciation of that person's level of knowledge either. One of the factors of the good friend, which you might remember back to from the second blessing, was that you're a wise one or a good friend will save up new things to tell you. So they know what you already know, and if there's something useful which you don't know, then they will save up that sort of thing to tell you, rather than going on and on, being a bore, telling you the same stories again and again when they know you already heard it. Some people, they don't even care if you heard it already or not. They have the same stories which they keep on telling again and again, even though it may be true, but it's lost its benefit. And some things, it may not be beneficial to know, even though it may be true. For example, especially things which will discourage people, sometimes it's better they don't know it. And this is not including whether someone is going to die or not. But things like, if you're not sure whether something is going to be successful, then the more you say it, the more likely is that that thing is going to fail. So sometimes to give people doubts may not be a very beneficial thing to do. It's better just to give it the benefit of the doubt in some cases.